Here's what we do right now, Kay. We have a disjointed system. I will have one deputy mayor who will be in charge of HRA, DHS, DEP, I'm sorry, HPD, NYCHA. They will overlook DOB and have a close liaison with Department of Parks. Why am I doing that? HPD is judging its success based on the number of apartments that they sponsor. They're not judging it on the number of apartments we need. And oftentimes with HRA and homeless services is what they are saying we need, we're not getting that need. Then you have DOB, who is actually holding up some of the projects, and no one is making people work together in the same sandbox, I like to say. You could have Department of Parks will have a tree in front of a project, and it would take you a year to get that tree removed. And so when you speak to all the different entities, they're all pointing to each other. I'm going to have them meet once a month, and I'm going to judge the team on how many units of affordable housing we built and how many people we're cycling out of homelessness and shelters. When the team works together and not siloed, you produce a mission-driven product that we can gauge in real time. How many vacant units we have, how many vacant units we have in NYCHA, how many vacant units of affordable housing we have. And in real time, we should be able to look at, are we reaching our marks? Why is this being vacant for so long? Why is it taking so long to get a tenant inside there? That is how you run cities in real time using checkpoints. If you don't inspect what you expect, it's all suspect.
When you think you're going to solve homelessness just with homeless programs, HRA and DHS had programs oriented at homelessness, but they're not working collaboratively with our housing agencies, our health agency, our criminal justice agencies. And that's the fundamental problem. You're never going to solve homelessness just with homeless programs. That's why we were so successful at the federal level, is because we brought everybody to the table. And so what I would do on day one is create a single deputy mayor that had not just DHS and HRA under their supervision, but every housing agency and NYCHA, the Public Housing Authority, as well. And only by having everything coordinated under one deputy mayor, creating an interagency council on homelessness for the city, would we really be able to bring everyone together. We need to have a coordinated entry system where every agency is able to understand when a family's at risk, including the Department of Education. Steer those families before they ever end up homeless to the resources that they need, whether it's rental assistance or others, and ensure that we have a truly coordinated response across every agency. Whenever you think you're going to solve homeless programs, whenever you think you're going to solve homelessness just with homeless programs, you are destined to fail. I've seen it over and over again, and I'm the only candidate that's actually made government work across every silo to end homelessness. I would do that as mayor.
I think that this is, and actually it's a back to the future situation, because DHS actually was an HRA, as was ACS, and then they got removed. They became separate agencies, and now they're back together. It is a combination only at the very top. It is not a seamless combination across every level of that agency, so that there are real wraparound services, whether or not it is about the need for shelter or the need for food or the need for workforce development, that this is not actually operating as a joint. It still operates as two agencies rather than as one agency. And the way that I would approach anything on the health and human services side is, what does that family need? And then let's make sure that we are bringing those resources to that family. And the family doesn't have to figure out like, oh yes, I have a right to come in and get shelter and pursue getting an apartment. But oh, you know what? I also am eligible for SNAP benefits, or I'm also eligible for Medicaid. That should happen all as one seamless program. And to my knowledge, that is not what occurs.
Given the current crisis that we have, it's not clear to me that the combination has resulted in anything that has benefited the people in our people, our New Yorkers who are in these precarious positions. We need to make sure we cut the bureaucracy. It should not, as I said before, take that long to honor a voucher. It shouldn't take long for the people who are making a difference for them to get paid. And the stories are 6 to 9 months, if not longer, for people to get compensated. And a lot of the not-for-profits and a lot of the social organizations, that is, again, reprehensible. So while it may have been well intended, the execution has failed. And we need to make sure that we get people in places, and leaders in place who can cut through the bureaucracy. I do not believe in having too much bureaucracy. You need to have some, but you need to have discipline, you need to have scorecards, and you need to have people who execute. Not people talk about executing, but people actually execute. So what I see there is a failure of execution because too many people have been left in the conditions that are at least as bad as they were when the two different agencies were combined, at least as bad as they were.
Would you keep the two combined?
I'd have to take a look at it. I'd have to study it a little bit more carefully to see what's the most efficient way to go about it. It clearly is not working today. You don't have the services, $4,000 a month. I mean, come on, if anything's working, somebody ought to be able to take a look at that to say if we actually built homes, truly affordable homes, that we could cut that down by at least half. We know that. We just have inept management. And it's not clear. Maybe you have absentee leadership, but it's not working.
It's almost like, I've spent a couple of years fighting with Steve Manx in my role as a shelter operator. I think the concept was a reasonable concept. I personally have proposed, as I mentioned, one deputy mayor to bring all of our housing and homelessness issues under one person, as opposed to the different agencies that people have to deal with right now. But I think the problem is that the services were still separated. You still had to deal with different caseworkers, different units, different divisions to get your needs as a human being, as one comprehensive, holistic human being met. And those things needed to be collapsed. Our community members, our neighbors, New Yorkers should be the center, right? And all our services and programs should revolve around you. And we should make things as easy and accessible for you as possible. And our system has failed to do that. We put New Yorkers in the position where they're the ones that have to jump through hoops, where they're the ones that have to navigate, where they're the ones that have to figure out who the right person is to talk to, as opposed to a real sort of customer-driven model that assumes that we need to figure out what you need, and we need to do that as easily and as seamlessly as possible. So one of the things that I've proposed in my sort of administration is that we would have these local and in community-based one-stop kind of shopping centers, not real shopping centers, but for city services, where you could get all of your needs addressed in one place and not have to navigate multiple systems, because that's not your problem. That should be the city's problem.
It's got to be in charge. And we have not seen leadership coming out of City Hall. We haven't seen it on housing policy. We haven't seen it on education policy. And we definitely have not seen it on homeless policy. What I could tell you today is that I'm going to be hands-on. I'll build the best administration. I'll build an administration that's actually about problem solving, reducing homelessness, building low-income housing, making sure that we take care of our most vulnerable, especially our children. You see, I've done the audits and investigations. I've tried very successfully to hold this administration accountable. So I know where the money is, I know where the dysfunction is, and I've also put out specific ideas on all of these issues. And that's what we need in a mayor. Talk is cheap right now when kids are hanging on by the edge and when people can't find the low-income housing they need. We need somebody who's going to go in and just take care of business.
Will you keep the two departments?
Mr.
Scott, will you keep the two departments the same structure though, like both of them together?
I don't know. I think that more is about bureaucracy. I'll look at it through the lens of what experts say and streamline the bureaucracy. But again, I believe this is a city hall capacity issue because the mayor is the one who will dictate the policy and then figure out ways to get that implementation done.